Raymond van Barneveld won 5 world titles and the Sid Waddle Trophy. Now he can't beat players he would have destroyed a decade ago. Today, we look at some of the biggest names in professional darts, former world champions, former world #1s, players who earned millions and dominated the sport for years. Right now, many of them are producing the worst results of their entire careers, averaging in the 70s when elite players hit 100 plus, and they refuse to believe the decline is real. Raymond van Barneveld recently recorded a free dart average of 69.39 on the Pro Tour, the lowest of his entire career, while Peter Wright lost 3-0 to a tournament debutant, and Michael Smith went from producing one of the greatest legs ever played to crying in bed because he couldn't walk. Even Phil Taylor, widely regarded as the greatest player the sport has ever seen, came out of retirement and started losing to players he would have brushed aside 10 years earlier. The pattern keeps repeating. What makes all of this compelling isn't just the results dropping off, it's how firmly these players reject what those results are telling them, repeating the same line over and over about being world class on the practice board and needing just one good week to prove it. Meanwhile, Luke Littler won back-to-back world championships in 2025 and 2026, leading a new generation that's raising the bar faster than aging legends can adapt. Retirement, in their minds, belongs to someone else. Results keep sliding anyway. This is the practice board paradox, and it's unfolding across an entire generation of darts legends. Raymond van Barneveld might be the clearest example of a legend who simply cannot let go. 5 world titles define his legacy, 4 with the BDO in 1998, 1999, 2003 and 2005, followed by a PDC title in 2007, along with a stint as World No.1 and a Premier League victory that helped cement his place among the elite. Fans still remember the night he came back from 3-0, down to beat Phil Taylor in what many still regard as the greatest World Championship final ever played. In 2019, he announced an emotional retirement, telling cameras, "I don't want the pain anymore," and after a first-round exit at the 2020 World Championship, that looked like the natural ending. That should have been it. 14 months later he returned, regained his PDC tour card at qualifying school, Q School, in February 2021, and the comeback produced flashes of the old brilliance, including a Players' Championship title in Bolton in 2021, another in Hildesheim in March 2024, and a run to the 4th round of the 2024 World Championship. What nobody expected was just how steep the drop would become. At the 2025 World Championship, he lost 3-1 to Nick Kenny, ranked 75th at the time, and 1 year later, in 2026, he was whitewashed 3-0 by Stefan Belmont, a Swiss player without a tour card, winning only 2 legs in the entire match. That was his 33rd World Championship appearance, matching Steve Beaton's all-time record. The milestone felt bleak. Early 2026 on the Pro Tour made things even harder to ignore because at Players' Championship 2 in Hildesheim that February, the average landed at 69.39, officially confirmed by Sky Sports as the lowest PDC Pro Tour average he had ever recorded. Other recent numbers, 81.92, 82.66 and 79.57, sit miles away from the peak television average of 113.38. Over 30 points gone. His ranking now hovers around world number 36, a long fall from the top spot he held in 2008. Listen to his own words and the contradiction becomes obvious. After the 2026 World's exit, he told Viaplay that on the practice board he feels like a 5-time world champion, maybe even a 10-time champion. Yet during matches, nothing goes his way, and he cannot explain why. He admitted the pain of losing every week, even said it isn't what he wants anymore, and still he continues. Glenn Durham put it simply for Sky Sports, saying Father Time catches up with everyone, and he cannot see Van Barneveld walking away because darts has never been in a better place financially or commercially. At 58 years old, and after turning professional in 1984, he has now spent 41 years in the game. He's still going. Peter Wright's fall looks different because instead of a slow fade, the drop resembles a sudden plunge. 2 world titles in 2020 and 2022 sit alongside 8 PDC major wins, 48 career PDC titles, a World Match Play crown in 2021, European Championship victories in 2020 and 2023, and the highest PDC broadcast match average ever recorded at 123.53. Twice in 2022, he stood as world number 1. Early 2026 finds him down at world number 31, still dropping. Results began stacking up in a grim sequence. The 2024 Premier League ended with just 2 wins all season and a last place finish. The 2024 World Championship brought a 3-0 second round loss to Jim Williams, and the following year he wasn't selected for the Premier League at all, his first absence since 2013. Then came failure to qualify for the 2025 Grand Slam of Darts for the first time since 2012. Sealed by a 5-0 whitewash from Connor Scott with an average of 85.71. The 2026 World Championship produced what Wayne Mardle described as an awful watch because Wright lost 3-0 to debutant Arno Merck, averaged 79.20 and won only 2 legs. Mardle didn't hide his reaction, saying he hated watching a champion and legend struggle like that. Equipment tinkering once defined Wright's identity. More than 100 sets of darts, reportedly see it in his collection, and during the 2022 World Championship, he changed setup 7 times while winning the title. What used to look like obsessive precision now feels like desperate searching, and in November 2025, Darts News wrote that the constant experimentation with darts, stems, and setups now seems to hinder more than it helps. Then came a moment that explains everything. During the 2025 World Championship, he stunned defending champion Luke Humphries 4-1 in the 4th round, averaging 100.93 and hitting 70% of his doubles, then broke down in tears afterward and admitted how much he had struggled all year while insisting he still knows he can play. He talked about winning a 3rd world title and insisted he isn't too old. A quarter-final loss to Stephen Bunting followed. That brief brilliance makes the decline harder to accept. Michael van Gerwen reacted bluntly after Wright's 2026 World's exit, saying he wasn't surprised because Wright had been playing badly for some time and should retire, while Wright himself insisted before the tournament that quitting was not an option because he's hitting 9 darters in practice and only needs to transfer that form to the stage. He's 55 now. Michael Smith's story since January 3rd, 2023 shows how fast everything can unravel. That night, he defeated Michael van Gerwen 7-4 to win the World Championship, produced what many call the greatest leg ever played with a 9-dart finish, and stood as world number 1. 3 years later, his ranking sits around world number 32. The slide began almost immediately. Life changed after the title. Practice time dropped because his schedule filled up, and in July 2023, he switched dart suppliers from Unicorn to Shot, a move he never fully adjusted to. His 2024 World Championship defense ended with a 4-0 whitewash by Chris Dobie, and the following year brought a second-round sudden death loss to Kevin Dotes. The 2025 season turned brutal. 19 first-round ProTour exits piled up. World Match Play qualification slipped away for the first time since 2013. The World Grand Prix passed without him, and Premier League selection never came. Physical problems made everything worse, with arthritis, plus injuries to his wrist, shoulder, and foot affecting him throughout the year. In November 2025, he described the toll in stark terms, explaining the relief of winning a qualifier after spending 3 weeks crying in bed because he couldn't walk. The 2026 World Championship brought another early exit, a 3-1 loss to Niels Zonneveld in round 2, 3 disappointing Worlds in a row. He refuses to concede anything. Critics who say he's finished get dismissed as former pros who quit and became commentators. And at 35, he insists he has plenty of time left to fight back, believing that 3 or 4 wins would put him straight back in the top 10. Age is still on his side. The gap to his 2023 level keeps widening. Dimitri van den Bergh's decline carries a different weight because his performances are tied directly to serious mental health struggles. At 26, he won the 2020 World Match Play and became the first Belgian major champion in PDC history, later reaching the 2023 World Championship semi-final and winning the 2024 UK Open by beating world number 1 Luke Humphries 11-10 in the final. July 2021 marked his peak ranking at world number 5, then everything shifted. The 2025 World Championship ended with a 0-4 whitewash by Cullen Wright, and in April that year, he withdrew minutes before a Players' Championship match and announced an indefinite break to focus on his health. He returned for the 2025 World Cup with Belgium, but confirmed he would not resume full-time professional competition. The 2026 World Championship produced another heavy loss, 0-3 to debutant Darren Beveridge, with just one leg won, and his ranking now sits around world number 25. His stated goal for 2026, revealed in a February 13th interview with Viaplay, was simply to still hold a tour card by year's end. For a double major champion, that says everything, yet the belief remains. He insists he can still produce 15 darters, 11 darters, and big finishes, before correcting himself and admitting the mental battle is incredibly tough. The results swing wildly. At Players' Championship 2 in early 2026, he averaged 75.00 in a 0-6 loss to Shane McGuirk. Yet earlier that same week, at PC1 he averaged 102.83 while beating Niels Zonneveld. And at the 2025 World Masters, he hit a 9-darter against Michael van Gerwen. Watching the Premier League visit his hometown of Antwerp in February 2026 without being on stage, he told Viaplay the miserable feeling continues, and he still feels nailed to the ground, adding that darts currently brings him no joy. Glenn Durrant, who received an apologetic text from him after the 2026 World's defeat, said he felt deeply saddened watching him struggle. Some players don't internalize the frustration, they project it outward. Joe Cullen and Kim Huybrechts respond to decline with visible anger. Cullen won the 2022 Masters, reached the 2022 Premier League final before losing 10-11 to Michael van Gerwen after missing a match dart, and once climbed to around world number 10. He now sits near world number 35, and the inconsistency defies logic because one day he wins Players' Championship 27 in September 2025 by beating Gerwyn Price 8-7, and the very next day he produces an 81 average at the World Series of Darts finals. Florian Hempel openly wondered how the same player could look completely different overnight. Emotion often spills over. At the 2024 World Championship, he walked out of a press conference complaining of disrespect and after losing 1-3 to Mansour. Suljovic, at the 2026 Worlds, he accused his opponent of cheating through slow play on social media, writing that if that counts as darts, he wants no part of it. Glenn Durrant's advice came quickly: put the phone down. Despite everything, Cullen still insists he believes fully in his ability and considers himself as good as anyone on his day. Kim Huybrechts presents an even harsher version of the same pattern. His best years between 2012 and 2017 saw rankings around world number 16 to 20, yet now he sits near world number 53, and recent world championships ended in early exits, including a 3-0 whitewash by Richard Veenstra in 2024, where he averaged 84.7 and lost all 9 legs, followed by first-round defeats to debutants in both 2025 and 2026. After the 2026 loss, he told Darts News that he throws fantastically in practice and at Belgian tournaments, but not on the big stage. The familiar refrain returns. Controversy surrounds him as well. In 2024, the Darts Regulation Authority fined him £1,500 after Belgian teammates Dimitri van den Bergh and Mike de Decker reported aggressive behaviour, including an alleged slap at an airport, and tensions with van den Bergh have continued since 2023 with the pair refusing to speak or celebrate together at the World Cup. Public criticism even came from home. After the 2024 World's whitewash, his wife Dana described him as lazy, spoiled, and addicted to Football Manager, and although he returned quickly to competition after football hooligans attacked him in May 2024 and left him with a double fracture of the collarbone in his throwing arm, the determination that fueled that comeback has not produced better results. Gerwyn Price still competes at a high level compared to many on this list, yet the tension between who he believes he is and what the results show continues to grow. The 2021 world champion, three-time Grand Slam winner, and former world #1 on 3 occasions has not lifted a televised ranking major in more than 4 years, dating back to the 2021 Grand Slam of Darts. His ranking now sits around world number 11 or 12. The defining moment came at the 2025 World Championship with a 3-0 whitewash by Wesley Plaisier, a 8MERT, player without a tour card, and that followed failure to qualify for the 2024 Grand Slam, despite winning it 3 times, plus a 7th place Premier League finish that year without reaching the playoffs. In 2024, he described a strange reversal in public reaction, noting that when he played his best, everyone disliked him. Yet now that he feels he's playing the worst darts of his life, he has the support of fans everywhere. He still talks about practicing well in recent weeks, but losing that form the moment he steps on stage. He admits he doesn't practice enough at home, explaining that Johnny Clayton lives far away so he lacks regular competition, yet the routines needed to match his self-image never fully take hold. Rob Cross shows another version of decline, quieter and slower, but no less telling. His 2018 World Championship victory over Phil Taylor in the Legends final match launched him to the top of the sport, and later successes included the 2019 World Match Play, European Championship titles in 2019 and 2021, and the semi-final at the 2024 World Championship. Rankings once peaked at world number 2. Today, he sits around world number 20. Offstage problems reveal deeper strain. In June 2025, the Insolvency Service disqualified him as a company director for 5 years over more than £450,000 in unpaid taxes, and at the 2026 World Championship, he spoke publicly about long-term mental health struggles, revealing he had been taking medication for low mood and that he has ADHD. Competitive form mirrors that instability. His 2025 Premier League campaign ended 7th without playoffs. The 2026 Premier League lineup excluded him entirely, and he summed up his own inconsistency with blunt humour, saying that in the previous 6 months he couldn't find a 107 and should have sent his grandmother to look for one. Phil Taylor's story stands as the clearest warning of all. 16 world titles, 214 tournament victories and 87 major championships define his career, and after losing the 2018 World Championship final 7-2 to Rob Cross, he admitted, "It felt like an old man facing a young one, a mismatch. Competition still pulled him back." In 2022, he joined the World Seniors Tour, and the results immediately reflected the gap between past and present, beginning with a win over Peter Manley, averaging 81.29, roughly 35 points below his PDC peak of 118.66. Kevin Painter then beat him in the 2022 World Seniors quarter-final to end a 31-match losing streak, remarking that neither of them were as good as before. 2 finals came in 2022, but no titles followed. The 2023 World Seniors began with a narrow escape against Colin McGarry, averaging 82.36 to McGarry's 82.80, and his final World Championship appearance in 2024 ended immediately with a first-round loss to debutant Manfred Bildel after converting only 8 of 33 doubles. That's a 24.2% doubles percentage when elite players hit 40% plus. He never won a seniors title. In May 2024, he announced full retirement, explaining that he could no longer perform like the Phil Taylor people paid to see, that his body had changed, and that continuing without delivering a show broke his heart. No darts remain in his house now. He works as a TNT sports commentator. Those 2 years on the senior circuit, averaging in the low to mid-80s while struggling against players he once dominated, showed how even the most self-aware champion can still be drawn back by competition's pull. None of this is new. Eric Bristow, 5-time BDO world champion and dominant force of the 1980s, kept playing for roughly 21 years after his last world title in 1986, despite suffering dartitis, a psychological condition that prevents release of the dart. He described the sensation vividly, saying his brain screamed to let go while his arm refused to move. Embarrassing, he called it. He still helped found the PDC in 1993, recovered enough to reach the 1997 PDC World Championship semi-final, and continued until his final professional match in 2007. Adrian Lewis offers a modern parallel. The two-time PDC world champion from 2011 and 2012 lost his tour card through inactivity after withdrawing from all events from April 2023, then resurfaced in August 2025 on the Modus Super Series, practicing 3 to 4 hours daily while discussing a return. A February 2026 headline summed up the contrast, describing him winning a Battle of the Granddads at an exhibition. The gap between identity and reality remains wide. Across every story runs the same pattern, the practice board paradox. Players insist their true level appears in practice, not competition. Van Barneveld talks about being a 10-time champion on the practice board. Wright reports hitting 9 darters. Bergh points to 15 darters and big finishes. Huybrechts says he throws brilliantly in practice. Price says his practice form is excellent. Anderson blames everything on his back. The separation between practice and performance is undeniable because pressure, crowds, adrenaline, aging bodies, and fading eyesight all affect what happens on stage at Alexandra Papalis, known as Ali Pali. The defining feature is what comes next. The belief that practice shows the real version and competition shows the exception. Context makes this era different. The 2025 World Championship winner earned £500,000. Prize money sits at record levels. Popularity continues to grow, and the PDC tour card system means losing. Your place carries immediate financial consequences. Q School entry costs money, time, and pride, leaving the sport costs more than ever. Meanwhile, young talent led by Luke Littley keeps arriving faster than the previous generation can adapt, and the result is a group of former champions caught between memory, belief, and evidence, remembering what they once did, believing they can still do it, and averaging in the 70s and 80s while losing to debutants at tournaments they once controlled. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe and leave a comment below. Tell me who needs to walk away and who still has a chance to turn things around.